All right, here we go. One take. Everybody knows the fucking rules. All right, so my health fair presentation is on caffeine consumption in college students, the positives and negatives. The reason that I chose this topic was that I see a lot of people on campus just slugging energy drinks, coffee, Starbucks, etc. And every single day, and a lot of people complaining about health problems that I always kind of suspected were related to caffeine and not eating any food. So I figured I'd make this presentation as kind of a PSA about that kind of thing and how to safely consume caffeine, because I know that a lot of people rely on it, and understandably so, with jobs and school and whatnot. So, what is caffeine? Caffeine is a stimulant in the stimulant class of drugs, I should say, that binds to adenosine receptors in your brain. So, during the day, your brain produces adenosine, which kind of locks into those adenosine receptors, and that's what's responsible for making you tired throughout the day and sleepy, so that you can go to bed at night without any issues. Caffeine uh, kind of bumps the adenosine out of the receptors, so um, where adenosine would usually go, it's blocked by caffeine, so you don't get that same tired feeling, and gets you more energized. Um, Makes you feel happier after consuming it, oftentimes just as a byproduct of being energized. So, caffeine delivery, most commonly we see caffeine drank in beverages like coffee and tea that dates back thousands of years. But more recently, we're starting to see caffeine chews, gums, and pills become popular on the market. These are really strong, concentrated, quick ways of delivering caffeine. Not quite as popular as I've seen among college students, but still, you know, relatively becoming more popular. Um, Caffeine in collegiates. Though the average person should consume no more than 2 to 300 milligrams of caffeine per day, college students are way exceeding that by a factor of almost 200 milligrams on average. That's a lot of caffeine. 200 milligrams is 2 to 3 cups of coffee. So it's a little too much coffee, especially for the developing brain. It's no surprise that given the heavy workload, jobs, and extracurricular activities these students take on, they rely on caffeine more than any other demographic to stay energized. Caffeine addiction and dependence. This one, I'm sure, strikes a nerve with almost 90% of adults in the United States. Caffeine dependence can develop in as little as 3 days from a dose as small as 100 milligrams daily. That's just 1 cup of coffee. Chemical changes in the brain and in your adenosine receptors, aka your brain making more adenosine receptors to accept more adenosine, um, creates a tolerance of caffeine so that more is required to achieve the desired energizing effect. This is true for all drugs. Caffeine is no exception. Dependence and addiction cause extreme tiredness in the morning when caffeine is not present in the system, and can also cause dizziness, shaking, nervousness, headache, lack of concentration, and sleep issues. I'm sure that's fairly familiar for you when you don't, not you, for caffeine consuming adults, when you don't get your coffee in the morning. Energy drinks. All right. One of the dangers associated with excessive caffeine consumption among college students comes from energy drinks, because college students rely so heavily on caffeine, and energy drinks are always available in the vending machines around campus, and just in a little can, ready to go. Don't need to go to the coffee shop. They're an extremely popular option for caffeine delivery. Between high amounts of caffeine and additives like guarana and taurine, which are legal stimulants, in addition to the caffeine that's already in the drinks, these drinks can cause issues with blood pressure, heart palpitations, and dehydration, because they're replacing the consumption of water for a lot of these students. Um, Over time, overconsumption increases the risk of tooth decay, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular issues, gout, and insomnia. This is just a little video. Oh my gosh, that's so much caffeine, right? Anyway, safe consumption made simple. Of course, if 90% of Americans consume caffeine and most of those people go on to live normal, healthy lives, there is a safe way to consume caffeine. Um, of course, as with most drugs. Uh, as a general rule, you should not exceed 3 milligrams of caffeine per day per pound of body weight. So a 100-pound person should not exceed 300 milligrams or 3 cups of coffee on average per day to be within that safe margin. Consumption should also be staggered throughout the morning. So you shouldn't drink your 3 cups of coffee back to back to back, right? You should consume them throughout your entire morning or sometimes even into the afternoon to avoid unwanted side effects like jitters um, and upset stomach, having to go poop really bad. And highly concentrated energy drinks should be avoided and replaced by lower caffeine, sugar free, more natural energy drinks or canned coffee. When we talk about those energy drinks, I'm mainly talking about stuff like traditional Monster and Red Bull with a lot of sugar in it um, and a lot of caffeine. It's not good for you. Um, Stick to the more mellow, natural stuff like a true hippie. And here's a little caffeine related activity for you to do. Create a concept map that identifies the pros and cons of consuming caffeine and consider the benefits of caffeine on different people. Think college students, think night shift workers, think people that work their regular 9 to 5, um, anybody that can benefit or suffer from the use of caffeine. And then turn your papers in up front, I guess. Here are the references I used, and thank you. Good night.